Listen closely, because what you're hearing right now is not an accident. There's a reason the air around you feels charged, like static is crawling across your skin, like something ancient has stirred awake inside you. There's a reason you paused, even for a second, when this message appeared. You've been searching with an open mind, whether you knew it or not. You've been wandering, questioning, feeling that low hum inside your soul that refuses to be ignored. You've been waiting for something you couldn't quite name. And now the message has found you, not stumbled into you, not wandered into your path, found you. Because it was always meant to. You feel it, don't you? That strange pull in your gut, that subtle shift in your breathing, that sensation that what you're hearing is not entertainment. It's instruction, it's memory, it's truth resurfacing from the depths you've kept buried. And that truth is simple. It is time to stop betraying who you are. For too long, you've muted your instincts. For too long, you've questioned yourself to make others comfortable. For too long, you've let fear dilute your fire. Let doubt whisper over your inner authority. Let the world convince you that authenticity is a liability. But deep down, you've always known the truth. We all do. We all hear that internal voice. The one that doesn't shout, doesn't panic, doesn't argue. It just knows. It speaks in clarity sharp enough to cut through the noise. It speaks in direction that doesn't need explanation. It speaks with a righteousness that feels older than your body, older than your name, older than every mistake you've ever carried. But here's the sinister side of pretending you don't hear it. Every time you ignore that voice, a piece of you dies. Not dramatically, not publicly, but slowly, silently, like a blade carving away the edges of your identity. You felt this. The exhaustion, the emptiness, the strange ache that creeps in when you act out of alignment. That quiet disgust with yourself after you compromise your values. That tension in your chest when you lie just to keep the peace. The heaviness you carry when you pretend to be something you never were. This is what happens when you refuse your own truth. Your soul revolts. Because you were not built to be a replica. You were not built to blend in. You were not built to bend your spine to match the crooked expectations of the world. You were built to stand, to speak, to lead, to be the force that walks into a room and shifts its temperature. And you know this. It's the reason you've always felt different. It's the reason certain people have tried to dim you. Your presence threatened them. It's the reason you've carried ambition that feels too large to explain. It's the reason you feel restless when you're not pursuing something meaningful. Your inner authority is not a suggestion. It's a demand. And the longer you ignore it, the more brutal the consequences become. Not from the world, but from within you. You cannot escape yourself. You cannot outrun your own conscience. You cannot bury your purpose deep enough to silence it. Eventually, it claws its way back. And the world calls that a midlife crisis, or identity struggle, or lack of clarity. But you know what it really is? It's the return of the real you, the version you locked away to avoid judgment, the version you hid to avoid conflict, the version you silenced because you feared the weight of your own potential. That version is done waiting. This is not a pep talk. This is a summons, a reminder, a call to step into the life that is rightfully yours. Because being your genuine self is not just about expression. It's about honor. Honor means living in alignment with what you know is right. Honor means refusing to bend for validation. Honor means choosing integrity even when it costs you. Honor means following your purpose even when the path is lonely and unlit. And make no mistake, the path of authenticity is not soft. It's not pretty. It's not easy. It is a battlefield. A personal war against every lie you've ever told yourself. Every insecurity you've let take root. Every false mask you've worn to survive. But on that battlefield, something powerful happens. You awaken. You awaken to the truth that your inner voice is not an interruption. It's your compass. You awaken to the fact that righteousness isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. You awaken to the undeniable realization that your purpose was never optional, because you were built to live with fire, not fear. So here's the truth you've been avoiding. You know exactly what you should be doing. You know exactly who you're meant to become. You know exactly what your inner voice has been trying to tell you. And now that you've been reminded, you cannot pretend ignorance again. Stand as yourself, fully, fiercely, unapologetically. Let the world adjust to your truth. Let the air crackle when you walk into a room. Let your presence unsettle those who still hide from themselves. Let your voice carry the weight of conviction you've earned through suffering. This is not the time to shrink. This is the time to rise, to embody your purpose, to do what is right without flinching, to live with the honor that has always been written into your bones. Because this message didn't find you by mistake. It found you because you are ready. Ready to stop running. Ready to stop hiding. Ready to stop apologizing for who you are. Stand tall. Stand true. Stand as the genuine righteous force you were always meant to be. The world does not need another copy. It needs you. And it needs you now. You've heard the truth. You've felt the pull. Now comes the part that separates the ones who rise from the ones who retreat back into the comfort of who they used to be. Awareness alone changes nothing. Inner fire without action burns out. And purpose, no matter how righteous, means nothing if you don't live it. If you're ready to become the genuine, unapologetic force you were meant to be, then it's time to move with intention. Not tomorrow. Not when life settles. Now. Here are 5 steps to take this message out of your mind and carve it into your reality. Step 1. Silence the noise and hear your true voice. You cannot become the most authentic version of yourself until you learn to separate your voice from the endless swarm of voices around you. And make no mistake, the world has been conditioning you to not hear yourself for years. Every notification, every opinion, every expectation, every demand, they all bury your instinct under layers of static. And if you allow that static to continue, you will live a life constructed by strangers and shaped by noise, not by truth. Silence is not a luxury. Silence is a weapon, a shield, a doorway back to your core. But silence does not happen by accident. You must carve it out of the chaos with intention, with discipline, with the same seriousness you would give to a mission that has consequences. Because this is a mission. The mission to reclaim your inner authority. And the first battlefield is your mind. Start by acknowledging something uncomfortable. You've been drowning in input. You've been absorbing voices that don't belong to you, opinions that dilute your clarity, distractions that hijack your focus, and influences that steer your life without your permission. Most people treat this as normal. They think it's harmless. But you're not most people. And deep down, you know it hasn't been harmless at all. When you silence the noise, you remove the obstacles between you and the person you were always meant to be. So how do you do this? You remove everything that is not essential. Not forever, not dramatically, but deliberately. Begin with time. Set aside at least one pocket of your day where the world does not reach you. No phone, no music, no scrolling, no mindless distraction. A pocket of absolute quiet, where your mind has no choice but to reveal its true shape. At first, it will feel uncomfortable, almost unbearable, because silence forces you to confront what you've been avoiding. The thoughts you push aside, the truths you bury, the feelings you numb, the instincts you've ignored for so long that they've grown hoarse from trying to speak. Sit with them, because silence is not just about removing noise. It's about meeting yourself without the mask. Next, observe how your mind behaves when the noise is gone. You will start to notice the difference between your real inner voice and the intrusive thoughts planted by external influence. Your real voice is calm. It speaks in statements, not questions. It is steady, grounded, and eerily familiar. It does not beg for attention. It simply waits to be heard. It is the voice that knows what you should be doing. It is the voice that knows your purpose, your values, your direction. This is the voice you must learn to trust. To strengthen this connection, spend intentional time alone, not lonely, but alone with purpose. Take walks without headphones. Drive in silence. Sit outside and let your mind breathe. Allow space for clarity to rise. Modern life has conditioned us to fear quiet moments, because in quiet moments, truth surfaces. But truth is exactly what you need. And do this. Pay attention to the thoughts that feel like they're coming from somewhere deeper than your surface-level mind. Thoughts that feel more like revelations than ideas. Thoughts that feel old, familiar, instinctual. Those are the ones that matter. Those are the ones pointing you toward who you really are. Silencing the noise also requires boundaries, not just with devices, but with people. Notice who drains you, who talks over your instincts, who pressures you to be something you're not. These are sources of noise disguised as relationships. Limit their influence. You're not cutting them out. You're cutting out their distortion of your truth. Protect your mental territory as if it were sacred ground, because it is. And perhaps the most important part, stop seeking external permission or validation. Every time you ask someone what you should do, every time you poll the world for answers, every time you rely on opinions to tell you who you are, you weaken the signal of your inner voice. Guidance is useful, but over-reliance is a form of self-abandonment. The answers you keep looking for outside yourself are already inside you, waiting for the noise to settle so they can rise to the surface. When you commit to silence, something powerful happens. Your thoughts stop scattering. Your emotions stop overwhelming you. Your instincts sharpen. Your decision-making strengthens. You begin to recognize the difference between fear and intuition, between doubt and truth, between noise and wisdom. You begin to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. And once you hear your real voice, your true, calm, assertive, righteous voice, you cannot unhear it. It becomes your compass, your anchor, your internal command center. It becomes the force that guides every action, every boundary, every decision you make. This step may seem simple, but it is the foundation of everything else. Without silence, there is no clarity. Without clarity, there is no alignment. Without alignment, there is no genuine self. And without the genuine self, there is no power. Silence is the beginning. Silence is the reset. Silence is where the real you steps out of hiding and says, I am still here, and I am ready. Step 2. Identify where you are betraying yourself. Before you can rise into the person you're meant to become, you must confront the truth you've been avoiding. You've betrayed yourself. Not once, not occasionally, but repeatedly, subtly, quietly, until it became normal, until it became habit, until you forgot what it feels like to live in full alignment with who you truly are. This step is the reckoning, the confrontation, the moment where your illusions die so your identity can live. Most people will never do this. They spend their entire lives protecting their ego, pretending they are always consistent, always authentic, always true to themselves. They cling to the fantasy that they are noble by default. But reality is far darker. We lose ourselves in small compromises long before we ever notice we're missing. So this step demands courage, real courage. The kind where you turn inward and shine a harsh, unforgiving light on the parts of your life where you are not living in truth. It requires you to rip away the excuses, the rationalizations, the softening of reality. It requires honesty without anesthesia. Begin with this question: where am I acting against what I know is right? Not what others say is right. Not what society rewards. What you know is right. You will feel a tightening in your chest when the real answers surface. You'll feel shame. You'll feel discomfort. You'll feel the sting of recognition. That is the point. That is the doorway. That is the moment in which your real transformation begins. Start making a list. Not a poetic list. Not a gentle list. A raw, blunt, unfiltered inventory of every place in your life where you betray your own truth. Times you stayed silent when your instincts screamed. Times you agreed to things you knew were wrong for you. Times you acted small so someone else wouldn't feel threatened. Times you lied to yourself just to avoid change. Times you let fear run your life instead of principle. Times you ignored your purpose in favor of comfort. Times you stayed in situations that drained your spirit. Times you pretended to be someone you're not. Times you allowed your values to be negotiated. Times you let guilt manipulate you into self-abandonment. Every one of these moments is a fracture, a crack in the foundation of your identity. On their own, they seem harmless. But together, they slowly shape a life that was never meant for you. To identify these betrayals, you must be willing to look at yourself without flinching. This is where most people fail. They want growth without discomfort, clarity without confrontation. They want to be authentic while avoiding the pain of seeing how far they've strayed from their authenticity. But you're different. You've already felt the consequences of ignoring your truth. You've already sensed the damage. You've already reached the point where pretending hurts more than honesty. So lean into the discomfort. Let it burn. Let it reveal where the rot has taken hold. Look at the patterns you repeat that erode your self-respect. Look at the relationships where you shrink. Look at the habits that numb you instead of strengthen you. Look at the dreams you abandoned, even though they still whisper to you in the quiet hours of the night. These are the pressure points where you must reclaim yourself. But do not stop at identification. Dig deeper. Ask yourself, why did I betray myself here? What fear was I trying to avoid? What truth was I unwilling to face? Where did I choose comfort over integrity? Where did I choose approval over authenticity? This is where the real revelations surface. Because every self-betrayal has a motive, and until you expose the motive, the pattern will repeat. Again, and again, and again. You cannot fix what you refuse to name. You cannot change what you refuse to understand. And you cannot become your genuine self while hidden loyalties to fear control your choices. So name the patterns. Expose the motives. Destroy the illusions. Once you have identified these areas, something powerful happens. Shame loses its grip. Self-betrayal thrives in secrecy, but when you bring it into the open, when you write it down, when you acknowledge it without flinching, you reclaim authority over it. You stop being controlled by the version of you that bends to fear. And here is the deeper truth. Every self-betrayal is a sign of suppressed potential. You do not betray yourself around trivial things. You betray yourself where there is something powerful at stake. You betray yourself where your growth threatens your comfort zone. You betray yourself where your truth would disrupt the life you've built around fear. So identifying these betrayals is not just an act of honesty, it is an act of resurrection. It is the moment where your real identity steps forward and says, I see what you've been doing, and I am here to take control. This step marks the end of self-abandonment and the beginning of self-alignment. Without this step, every change you attempt will collapse because you'll be building a new life on top of old lies. But with this step, this brutal, honest excavation, you create the foundation for a life built on integrity, clarity, and inner authority. This is the moment where you stop lying to yourself. This is the moment where your past stops controlling you. This is the moment where truth becomes your weapon. This is the moment where the genuine you finally steps out of the shadows. And from here, everything changes. Step 3. Choose one area and take an unapologetic action. Awareness is useless without execution. Clarity means nothing if you refuse to move. You can identify every self-betrayal in your life. Write it down with perfect honesty. Stare at it until your chest tightens. And still remain unchanged if you don't take the next step. This is the step where theory becomes war, where reflection becomes rebellion, where you stop observing your life from the sidelines and step into the arena of who you're actually meant to be. Because real transformation doesn't begin with some grand declaration. It begins with one unapologetic action, one commitment, one decision, one moment where you break the pattern of self-abandonment and do something that aligns with your truth, even if your voice shakes, even if the world doesn't approve, even if fear tightens your throat. You are not judged by the thoughts you think. You are judged by the actions you take. So choose one area from your list, just one, and prepare to act without hesitation. Not tomorrow, not when the timing is better, not once things calm down. Now, because delaying this step is the oldest form of self-betrayal. It's procrastination dressed as planning. It's fear wearing the mask of preparation. It's avoidance pretending to be strategy. You've lied to yourself long enough. You've promised change while repeating the same patterns. You've said you'd do better while clinging to the comfort of the familiar. Not anymore. This step requires you to choose a point of weakness and attack it. Look at your list of self-betrayals. Which one feels like it's draining your power? Which one haunts you with shame? Which one makes your stomach twist when you think about it? Which one keeps you living a life smaller than the one you were designed for? That's the one. Because the wound you avoid is the wound controlling you. Now, here is where things become difficult. Because once you choose your target, your mind will immediately begin generating excuses. It will warn you of consequences, push you toward caution, whisper that you're not ready. It will summon fear, guilt, and uncertainty because it wants to keep you predictable, safe, small. That is the trap. That is the cage. That is the enemy. You must act before your fear has time to negotiate. Your first unapologetic action should be something real, something that disrupts the pattern, something that cannot be undone. A boundary, a confrontation, a decision, a beginning, an ending. something that snaps the invisible leash that has kept you obedient to the version of yourself you've outgrown. Examples: telling someone no without explaining yourself, ending a habit that numbs your purpose, starting the project you've delayed for years, leaving an environment that suffocates your growth, saying the thing you've been scared to say, walking away from a dynamic built on guilt or manipulation, taking the first step toward a goal you've avoided, changing a routine that keeps you stagnant, speaking your truth even if your voice shakes. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be honest. This step is about breaking inertia, about proving to yourself that you are capable of acting on your own truth, about reclaiming the authority you've handed over to fear, to convenience, to other people's expectations. One action has the power to shift the trajectory of your entire life. Because once you take that first unapologetic step, you awaken something powerful inside you. Self-trust. Not confidence, not motivation, not hype. Trust. The understanding that when your inner voice tells you to move, you actually move. And this is where the real transformation begins. Because once you demonstrate that you are willing to act in alignment with who you truly are, your entire identity shifts. You stop living reactively. You stop waiting for permission. You stop letting fear dictate your decisions. You start operating from a place of conviction. But let me be clear, this step will be uncomfortable. It should be. Growth without discomfort is a lie. Power without friction is fantasy. Becoming your genuine self requires you to step into situations that shake you, challenge you, force you to rise. You may feel guilt. You may feel resistance from others. You may feel the weight of uncertainty. Good. That means you're doing the right thing. Every unapologetic action will destabilize the old version of you. And that destabilization is not a sign of danger, but a sign of rebirth. The discomfort you feel is your old identity dying. The tension you feel is the breaking of chains. The uneasiness you feel is the stretching of your capacity. Do not retreat. Do not soften. Do not apologize. You owe yourself at least one bold action that aligns with your truth. One moment where you put yourself first. One move that refuses to betray your purpose. After that, everything changes. You will think differently. You will walk differently. You will feel a shift in your spine, in your breath, in your presence. Because this step marks the moment where you stop thinking about becoming your genuine self, and you start being them. Not someday, not eventually, but today. And once you take this first unapologetic action, the path forward no longer feels impossible. It feels inevitable. Step 4. Build rigor around your purpose. Once you've taken your first unapologetic action, you ignite a spark inside yourself. But a spark alone is fragile. A spark can die. A spark can fade. A spark can be smothered by the weight of old habits, old environments, and old versions of you that still cling to survival. To transform that spark into a wildfire, you need rigor. Not motivation, not inspiration, not hype. Rigor. The discipline to build a structure around your purpose, so solid, so deliberate, so uncompromising, that it becomes impossible for you to fall back into the person you used to be. Purpose is powerful, but purpose without structure is just passion. And passion without discipline dies quietly. You've seen this before. People who talk big but act small. People who dream loudly but work softly. People who rely on emotion to guide their path and then collapse when emotion wavers. They believe their purpose will carry them simply because they feel it. But you're not here to feel your purpose. You're here to build it into your bones. This step forces you to move from intention to architecture, from wanting change to designing a life that demands it. Start by asking yourself the most important question of this entire transformation. Who do I need to become to live the life I know is meant for me? Not what do I want, not what should I do, not what's realistic. Who must you be? Because identity drives action. Action creates habits, and habits build destiny. You cannot become a powerful, authentic, principled version of yourself if your daily life contradicts that identity. You cannot claim righteousness while living in chaos. You cannot pursue purpose while clinging to every distraction that numbs you. So you must begin building rigor, rituals, systems, routines, commitments that support the version of you who lives in alignment. These structures become your armor. Without them, you remain vulnerable to impulse, weakness, emotion, and drift. Start with your mornings. The way you begin the day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you wake up immediately surrendering your mind to noise, chaos, or laziness, then your purpose never gets a seat at the table. You must build a morning ritual that grounds you, strengthens you, and reminds you of who you are becoming. Silence, reflection, movement, journaling, reading, intent. These are not cliches. They are weapons. They stabilize you before the world can pull you off your path. Next, create a structure for your purpose itself. What is the mission you've been avoiding? What is the skill you need to master? What is the craft you must sharpen? What is the work that aligns your soul with your destiny? You cannot leave this to chance. You must schedule it. You must discipline it. You must build it into your life so deeply that skipping it feels like a violation of your character. Whether it's building a business, training your body, mastering a skill, deepening your spiritual discipline, or pursuing a calling, you must create a system around it. Consistency is not created by inspiration. Consistency is created by design. You must also build rigor around your environment. Your surroundings influence your identity far more than you realize. If you live in clutter, you think in clutter. If you surround yourself with weak people, you become weaker. If you keep consuming content that distracts and numbs you, your purpose suffocates. Clean your space. Elevate your circle. Control your inputs. Refine your atmosphere until it reflects the person you are becoming, not the one you used to be. But here is where most people fail. They build routines, but they don't build accountability. They create rituals, but only when it's convenient. They follow their purpose, but only when it feels good. This is shallow discipline. This is why their lives remain unchanged. Rigor requires you to commit, even when you're tired, even when you're stressed, even when the world tries to pull you away. In fact, it's the days when you least want to do it that matter the most. Those are the days when a weaker version of you would have folded. Those are the days that forge identity. You must treat your purpose like a vow, a contract written not in ink, but in action, a covenant between who you are and who you're becoming, a promise you refuse to break. And here's the truth most won't admit. The reason people avoid rigor is because rigor requires sacrifice. It forces you to give up comfort, distraction, laziness, validation, and mediocrity. It requires you to let parts of your old life die so the real you can finally emerge. But everything great, everything powerful, everything meaningful has always required sacrifice. You must sacrifice who you were for who you are destined to become. And the moment you commit to this level of rigor, something extraordinary happens. You begin to trust yourself. Your discipline becomes identity. Your structure becomes strength. Your routines become armor, and your purpose stops being a distant dream and becomes a lived reality. Rigor removes doubt. Rigor eliminates chaos. Rigor creates power. This is the step where your transformation stops being emotional and starts becoming inevitable. Because once your life is structured around your purpose, nothing, not fear, not insecurity, not guilt, not the opinions of others, can pull you away from it. Rigor is the difference between those who wish and those who rise. Step 5. Refuse apology and stand firm in the storm. Once you begin honoring your true self, something predictable happens. The storm arrives. The moment you stop bending, the world pushes back. The moment you stop apologizing, people get uncomfortable. The moment you choose honor over approval, pressure rises from every direction. This is not a sign you're doing something wrong. This is confirmation you're finally doing something right. Transformation always disrupts the environment that benefited from your silence. When you change, the world around you has no choice but to change or resist. And most of the time, it resists. Hard. This is why Step 5 exists. It is the crucible, the test. The moment where you prove to yourself and to life that you will not abandon your purpose, the second resistance appears. Because make no mistake, resistance will appear. You will feel guilt for choosing what's right for you. You will feel pressure to return to old patterns. You will feel the gravitational pull of who you used to be. You will feel the weight of other people's expectations bearing down on your spine. You will feel fear clawing at your throat, whispering that you're being too much, too harsh, too direct, too honest. But guilt is not a compass. Fear is not a guide. Approval is not nourishment. Comfort is not integrity. If you want to become the person you were meant to be, you must learn to stand firm when the storm hits. Without flinching, without apologizing, without shrinking back into your old self. This step is about fortifying your spine. It's about holding your ground even when the world tries to drag you back into the shadows you've just escaped. It's about refusing to negotiate your truth for the sake of temporary peace. To stand firm means this: you stop apologizing for your boundaries. Your boundaries exist for your survival. Anyone offended by them was benefiting from your lack of them. You stop apologizing for your purpose. Your calling is not a committee decision. It does not need to be palatable to others to be righteous for you. You stop apologizing for your voice. The world has enough silence, enough pretending, enough self-betrayal disguised as politeness. Your voice is meant to cut through the fog, not blend into it. You stop apologizing for outgrowing people. Growth is uncomfortable. Evolution is inconvenient. But staying small so others can remain comfortable is spiritual suicide. You stop apologizing for protecting your energy. Draining environments are not badges of honor. They are traps, and escaping them is not selfish. It's necessary. And above all, you stop apologizing for being who you were always meant to become. This is the moment when you must learn to let the reactions of others roll off your shoulders like rain off steel. Not because you are cold, not because you are heartless, but because you are centered, grounded, anchored in something deeper than external validation. Your validation now comes from alignment, from integrity, from walking the path your inner voice commands you to walk. Standing firm doesn't mean being aggressive. It means being immovable. It means that when someone questions your decisions, you don't crumble. You simply say, "This is what's right for me," and keep walking. It means that when guilt tries to pull you backward, you recognize it as a relic of your old self, a ghost with no authority over the person you are becoming. It means that when fear tells you to retreat, you recognize fear as a liar that has already robbed you of enough time. It means that when doubt tries to poison your mind, you counter it with evidence. The truth that you've already taken bold action, built discipline, reclaimed your identity, and you are not going back. Standing firm also means accepting that some things will fall away. Some connections will dissolve. Some people will distance themselves. Some parts of your identity will die. This is not loss. It is refinement. It is pruning. It is the clearing of old branches so your life can grow in the direction it was always meant to grow. Because when you stop apologizing, your life becomes sharper, cleaner, more aligned, more powerful. Your presence begins to shift. Your decisions carry weight. Your energy becomes unmistakable. You stop being a product of your environment and start becoming the architect of your destiny. And here's the secret most never learn. The storm doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to reveal you. It strips away the weak parts, the fake parts, the hesitant parts. It tests your foundation. It shows you what you truly stand on. And if you remain standing, if you refuse apology, abandon validation, and hold to your inner truth, the storm transforms you into someone unshakable, someone who moves with conviction, someone who lives with honor, someone who no longer fears being seen, someone whose presence carries weight without saying a single word. This is the final step because it turns every previous step into a permanent shift. Without this, your growth evaporates the moment pressure returns. With this, your growth becomes your new identity. Stand firm. Stand without apology. Stand without flinching. Because you are no longer the person who kneels to fear. You are no longer the person who shrinks in the presence of judgment. You are no longer the person who abandons themselves for acceptance. You are the person who stands in the storm and does not move. You've walked through the fire of truth. You've confronted the noise, the lies, the fractures, the guilt, and the parts of yourself you once tried to bury. You've stood face to face with your own patterns, your own fears, your own betrayals, and you've chosen to rise. This path is not for the weak. It's not for the ones who seek approval. It's not for the ones who need permission to breathe. This path is for the ones who are ready to reclaim themselves, piece by piece, truth by truth, action by action. It's for the ones who understand that authenticity is not an aesthetic. It is a battle, a rebirth, a return to honor. And now, after every step you've taken, after every truth you've faced, after every boundary you've reinforced, there is one unavoidable reality staring back at you. You can never go back. Not to the person you were. Not to the life you tolerated. Not to the silence you hid behind. Not to the versions of yourself that survived by shrinking. You've outgrown that world. You've outgrown that identity. You've outgrown the illusions that once kept you obedient. From this point forward, everything changes. Because you have changed. You move differently. Now. You speak with more certainty. You carry yourself with the weight of someone who knows exactly who they are and who refuses to abandon that truth ever again. The storm will still come. The fear will still whisper. The world will still test your resolve. But now, you have an anchor. You have a spine. You have an inner voice that no longer whispers. It commands. And you listen. Not because it's easy, not because it's comfortable, but because it is righteous. Because it is yours. Because it is the only voice that has ever been honest with you. So step forward from here with an unshakable presence. Let your truth be your armor. Let your purpose be your compass. Let your discipline be the foundation you stand on. And when the world tries to pull you back, when old patterns claw at your ankles, when doubt tries to infiltrate your mind, remember this. You did not come this far to kneel. You did not rise from your own ashes just to apologize for the flame. You did not awaken your inner authority just to hand it away again. You are here to live with honor. You are here to live with purpose. You are here to live as your genuine, unfiltered, unapologetic self. This is the new standard. This is the new identity. This is the new you. And the world will adjust.